Hi you guys. So welcome back to the channel, and if you're new here, please like, comment, or subscribe. I have a canning, it's just a small canning project. Going to do it in my electric canner. It's the Carry canner. I have a hunk of pork loin that I smoked in the smoker, and we are going to put it in jars. I bought one of the big ones at Sam's. It was still a reasonable price, I think like $13. And I cut some chops out of it, and then this chunk I put in the smoker, and then I cooled it down and I added the juices to some hot water. And we are going to chunk this up. I can't emphasize enough right now that if you do not have a power supply to keep your freezer running during a power outage, please can your meats. So I've washed some jars, so they're a little wet. Always wash your jars, especially brand new jars. You want to wash those. So we're chunking up our meat into cubes, whatever sizes you want. You could make it into slices and put it in there, however you like it. But if you haven't heard, I have friends in Ohio, and they have turned the power off there. Not because there's a storm or anything. They shut the power off because it's hot. Trying to save the grid, supposedly. I know there have been rolling outages, but what they did in Ohio is what they did to us here in Oklahoma and in Texas when that snowstorm came through. I know everybody hears about Texas, but we got hit with that too, and they turned our power off, at least where I live, in the middle of the night. And it was 15 below zero. Well, now it's in the hundreds. I know here I'm struggling with my garden. It's in the high 90s with the heat index, so it's very hot, and when it's that hot you don't sleep. But if you don't have an alternate way to keep your freezer running, please can your food. If you don't know how to can, the easiest thing is the electric canner. If you're intimidated by the pressure canner, the electric canner is really easy to use and get things canned up before the power goes out. Now if you have a freezer full of steaks, I would hate to have to freeze can a bunch of steak, but the alternative is losing your food. And I will put the article in the description box down below. And I would be canning meat anyways, just for the sheer fact that prices are going up. We don't know what's going to happen, and I just have this feeling of urgency for some reason, and my feelings are usually pretty accurate, that things aren't going to be smooth. If you want to trim off all the fat, you can, but being this is a pork loin, I'm going to leave fat on there so the meat doesn't dry out. I will be putting a liquid in these jars, which is the water I have mixed with the drippings from cooking the meat. I have an electric smoker. So ladies, if you have one of those, it's easy. Soak your wood chips and season your meat however you like it. My husband said, well, it doesn't have the apple flavor. Well, I did a chipotle, Southwest chipotle rub on it and just put it out there and cooked it. And you don't have to cook this until it's falling apart tender, because it's going to be going into the jars and cooking again. So I wasn't worried about it being like pulled pork. So I'm going to get another jar and I'll be right back. Okay, I got my jar, washed it. So anyways, just be prepared for potential power outages. I don't know what kind of game they're running here, but it's not a good one. And in my other video, I mentioned, the port workers. And if we don't have port workers, then we have a whole other group of problems. And then if you haven't heard, Walmart's going to be using autonomous trucks for deliveries. They're using drones. San Francisco's using driverless like cabs. So we're going to have a lot of unemployed people as we get rid of our delivery people. I think there's a lot of things people aren't hearing about that's happening out there. And we need to be prepared. They're saying this autonomous vehicles, and those are vehicles that are driverless, are safer. I'm not so sure how safe I feel on the road with a vehicle being driven by a computer. I'm not sure I feel like that's a safer option. So pack your jars really well. You don't want, I'm seeing a lot of people say loosely pack your jars. Well, if you do that in the pressure canning process, it's going to suck down your meat and you're not going to have a full jar of product, and that's not what you want. Times are based on the density. The times that the government has given people for meat was based on how dense that jar is, and those are based on packed jars of meat, not just loosely, put in there, drop in there willy-nilly and let it float around. And if you do that, it's going to be boiling. So that would essentially be soup times, not meat times. So you want to pack your meat, be it raw or cooked, pack your meat in there. You want it with 1 inch of headspace. Wash my hands. Oh, I got that water hot. This is vinegar. Anytime you're working with meat or soups or anything with the fat or oil, you want to use vinegar. It will remove the grease from the rims of your jars. And you want to make sure that your jars seal. You also want to inspect your rims in your canner. And I don't know if this is going to show up. Can you see that? This is a brand new ball lid. Check and inspect your lids, because you cannot use this lid. It's bent, and you don't want to chance a failed seal on your food. So this is brand new lid with a dent in it. That's why I don't like ball lids. So I'm going to use my Lehman lids. buy my lids from Lehmans.com. They're much more reliable. I'm going to throw that lid away, and I'll use the ball lids for like pickles or something. But make sure you are checking your lids. Okay, so 4 lids. Going to take a rag or a paper towel, whatever you have. I'm going to give these an initial wipe. I'm going to pour in my liquid, and you can just use water. You can use broth. If you wanted to, you could add a teaspoon or a half a teaspoon of salt. You could use a teaspoon or a half a teaspoon of chicken bouillon powder. You could use pork broth. I have several pork canning videos where I use different liquids. Just use what you have. We're going to debubble and see how the liquid dropped in there, any air pockets you have. And this will be really nice in the winter when it's too cold to be grilling or anything, to make a nice smoked barbecue beef sandwich or whatever you want to do with your smoked pork. I've done smoked pork tacos. Those are yummy. And being, you know, how much, depending on how much fat you have on your meat, that will also release into your jar. So if you see white when this cools off, if the top of it is white, that's just the fat. Don't worry about it. Sometimes jars look really funky after you've canned them, especially meats and stews and things like that. It's just the fat. So make sure you've got those rims really cleaned off. No bits and pieces, no grease. These will process for 75 minutes. And if you don't know what weight to use on your pressure canner, you can Google your area and it will give you your elevation, and then your book will tell you if you use 10, 11, 15 pounds of pressure. It depends on if you're using a gauge or a weight. And if you're a new canner, you can feel free to email me. My email is in the About section. You do have to click on where it says email for it to show you the email address. That's just to ensure it's not a bot. Speaking of bots, they're all over my channel. Every time I post a video, I get those weird body comments. So I'm forever deleting those, which probably messes up my analytics. And you just want to turn it fingertip tight. Sometimes it looks like I'm turning harder than I am. That's just my hands. But just turn it until it stops. You don't want it too loose because then it can jiggle off in the canner. put our rack in the canner, and then depending on your canner, you put the amount of water. I have a Presto and a Miro. They take 3 quarts, and this is a carry. My directions call for 4 cups. People say they call for 8 cups, so I put in 6 cups. That's how I do it. 8 cups overflows. It's too much for pressure canning. You don't want your jar submerged. That's water bath canning. So I'm going to lock it. We're going to process these for 75 minutes, and then I will see you when these come out of the canner. Okay, you guys. This canner is finally letting me open it. It's smoking hot. So just that small chunk of meat that I smoked from that big tenderloin gave me 4 pints of smoked pork. So between this and the 5 jars I canned the other night with the 3 leftover butter chicken, the 2 cans of chicken thighs, 4 jars of smoked pork. I have 9 jars of food where I can get at least 18 meals, depending on how I cook it or what I do with it. I could get more, be it tacos, sandwiches, bulking up the butter chicken. So pull stuff out of the freezer, can it up, so you know you won't lose it. You'll have extra food on this shelf. Food security. And ladies, there's a shortage of feminine products, so go out there, stock up if you have to. If you can't find anything, send your husband, your boyfriend, your brothers, whatever, into the men's room and grab them. I don't even know what to say about that. So anyways, you all get prepared. Please get your houses in order. There's so much going on. I'll make a list of some of the things going on. We had another food plant production plant fire, and these are happening all across the world. It's not just happening to us. There's issues with rice and exports and imports and things like that. So it will be going up in price. So if you need rice, get your rice. That's the sound we want. And I found 6 jars, brand new jars of blue mason jars out in the garage. So I put them in the dishwasher. That is 6 more jars I can put food in. So that was a happy find. So anyways, you all take care. You stay safe. You stay healthy. You get prepped. Get some kind of alternate power supply in case power goes out this summer, so you can keep your refrigerator or your freezer. If you plug in your freezer for 4 hours a day, it'll be good for the rest of the day. You can use that power for something else. So anyways, you all take care. I think about you all the time, and I will see you in the next video.